Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. You ready?
Ready, baby.
Now it's garbage.
Just another movie night.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are Just Another Movie Night, and I am Scott.
I'm Joe.
And today we are talking trash.
Talking trash.
Talking trash indeed.
You okay?
This is our show to review, spoil, debate, crap on, and give second chances to the hated, the lowest rated, the much debated, and often forgotten flicks on the internet, all while asking the question, is this the worst movie ever made? And if not, what is? Because here on the show, we believe you can't truly review a movie without knowing what is the worst movie ever made. And today we are talking about what year again?
1989.
1989's Toxic Avenger Part 2. And let me just say,
The smile on your face is great.
is that a smile or
It's
is that
kind of like a, I don't know how to feel about this life that I'm leading.
Oof.
It's a, I'm so sorry that just took place kind of smile.
You ever sit back and drink a beer and then while drinking the beer, the thing that you're doing, you just want to pass out and even the beer can't keep you awake?
That usually happens to me sometimes during bad movie night when one of our friends picks a real snooze fest piece of crap. But I was not ready to pass out during this movie. I was very entertained.
I'm glad we had the opposite reactions to this one because holy shit. When we say we're talking trash, we are talking trash.
Hey, Citizen Toxie is not trash. I mean, he technically is trash. He's toxic trash.
That's true. That's
But-
absolutely fact.
So anyway, we're drinking. It started out with a Clown Shoes Galactica. Shout out to
Talk
Clown
about the
Shoes.
beer we drank.
Yeah, because Clown Shoes is like the best and it usually gets me through these kind of times. It's my
I guess-
favorite.
I guess that is the most interesting thing that occurred to us is that what we're
Yeah.
drinking.
What we're drinking. Well, shout out to Clown Shoes, but really they're not sponsoring us or anything. We're just kind of like into them. And then New Belgium is the next one on tap. It's Cryo Ranger IPA. That's what I'm on now. And I think that if I didn't have the first beer, I think that it would have been much more difficult to get through this. So that's why I found it like important to mention the beer because this movie is you kind of need beer. You kind of need it.
Look, we decided in January to tackle Troma's Productions Toxic Avenger, the series that made them famous. Right? That they've had a bunch of movies that are actually kind of popular, but the Toxic Avenger series in particular is their moneymaker.
I mean,
And that's kind
crazy.
of wild. And
Yeah.
this Troma is as punk rock and culty and low budget as you can get. This is the indie developers of horror and just sleazy comedy. And with that being said, after the first movie, which we both agreed, which was your first time watching it as well, we both agree we enjoy it.
I mean, it was a hoot.
There's something about the Toxic Avenger that's really fun, really culty, really punk rock, and really like just kind of like that subversive comedy that you just kind of can't help but laugh at.
Yeah, it had everything that I
So-
love in a bad movie. A so bad it's good movie. So
Yeah.
it had everything.
Well, I only bring all that up because now here we are in part 2 and throw all that out the window because anything I enjoyed about the first one
Aw.
got flushed down the fucking toilet.
The clouds of despair followed me everywhere. And I mean everywhere.
So let's talk about each thing because
I feel like
look,
you're angry.
on this show. I am not gonna lie.
I'm not
I
gonna
am.
lie. There's a couple of things I'm angry about too, but we can talk about that. Go ahead.
All right. So all the things that I enjoyed, right? Let's talk about them because on the show we completely break down the movie in spoiler fashion. We talk about the whole plot, right?
I mean, there's
so
nothing to spoil here.
let's
really.
talk about this movie. Let's talk about how this movie begins, right? This movie begins in the most horrible way possible. It's all narration. And do you know why?
Because, no. Why?
Because Lloyd Kaufman shot 4 hours of film and then freaked out about it. And then they said, what are we going to do? And his wife said, hey, why don't you just cut it into 2 movies? So why this movie feels completely disjointed, doesn't make any sense, and also has reused shots constantly, it's because they filmed 2 movies. They made 1 movie and broke it into 2, and then tacked on the worst narration of all time to make it all make sense. And when I say make sense, I mean that loosely.
My broken id was finally repaired because I knew that whenever or wherever the good citizens of Tromaville needed help, they could always count on me.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense.
What's even worse is that now you've already made a movie that made you famous, right? The Toxic Avenger made them really popular. That everybody caught on to it, right? It's kind of like that cult community. Now, if you're going to come out with a sequel, all you do is turn that up to 11. You just go and say, what are all the things that made that movie fun? Mm-hmm. This movie's like, nope. Let's do the opposite. Let's reboot the whole movie.
I mean, that's what they did because there's nothing that's the same. You know,
And it even acts like it is.
How? They changed his girlfriend's name from Sarah to Claire.
To Claire.
And also they
got a
changed
new
the
actress.
girlfriend. Yeah.
She's horrible.
It's like, what?
They took, okay, so one of the most fun things about part 1 is the actress in part 1 is so adorable.
She is.
While also being dorky and clumsy, which makes it even fun. She's a blind woman, and for some reason, her acting was top-notch blind acting. It was just so fun.
It was she
she's
was one of
so
the highlights
funny.
in the movie for me,
Yeah.
and I loved the Toxic Avenger, the first one. I thought it was really fun.
Hey, I know. Would you like me to tell you a fortune?
Huh?
I read palms. Give me your hand. What big hands you have. I bet you're very strong. Let me see. You're going to have a lot of good things coming to you in the future. You're going to become a very important man. Let me see your other hand. Oops. Sorry.
So throw that out. Instead, get a girl in lingerie constantly doing what I loathe is the Marilyn Monroe voice.
Yes, and also I know why they did that. They put her in the lingerie to divert the attention from the fact that, number 1, it's not the same actress, and number 2, they turned her into a freaking bimbo.
They made her a bimbo. They made it like she's in a White Snake video every 5 seconds. And all she does is like horny face with tongue work. It's so bad. And
Her
she's
tongue's out a lot.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be funny. And they're like Marilyn Monroe, which never is funny. I don't understand why people think that's something they should do when you have a character. Oh, we got to make her like Marilyn Monroe. No. Look, Betty Boop was enough.
Oh, but Melvin, I think your doctor's right. If you don't go to Japan and find your daddy, you're never going to be happy. Don't worry about me, Melvin. I'll be all right. I'll be here loving you the whole time. Remember, Melvin, I love you.
Nothing
Yeah.
ever is going to be as fun as Betty Boop.
I mean, I
so
just
stop.
don't get it. Like, you're keeping the same character, but you change her name. Like,
Yeah.
that's just bizarre. Why would you do that? Did they forget that they named her Sarah in the first one?
Who knows? And to make that even worse, they even changed the main character's name. He's no longer Melvin Ferd III, which is funny and catchy.
Yeah, they changed it
And
to
they
Junko.
go Junko. Melvin Junko
I
is now
feel
his
like
name.
that's a disservice to him.
It sucks. I
It
don't
does
even know what
suck.
they were thinking.
And also, they changed the fucking mother. Like, what is the mother? Like, that mother's not the same lady.
Oh, and then that joke is that the mother is now tacky,
What?
and she's just like this really overboard woman with
She
makeup
reminds
and
me
hair.
of like Magda from
Yeah.
There's Something About Mary.
Not funny.
Not funny at all.
But my worst thing than all that, well, I mean, I think the worst thing is changing the actress that played his girlfriend, which was I don't know why they would have done that. I hope maybe it's because she never wanted to come back. I can't find much information on her except for the one thing we didn't point out was the killer theme song in the first movie was her.
Yes, she
We
was
didn't know
the
that
singer.
the first time.
Yeah, we
I found that out in
later.
editing.
Yeah.
The thing that I hate even more is they changed Toxie's voice.
Yes, I hate that too, and I was gonna bring
It's
that up.
awful.
It seems like he's like a jock in like high school.
No, I took
That's
this
what I'm
like
getting.
dorky.
No, I'm getting like a jock in high school, like, you know, an 80s jock who's like when you're supposed to be 18 in the 80s, but you're really 40, that kind of thing.
You know, I mean, in the first one, the joke is that he was like a dweeb turned into this monster, and then he has the perfect voice, like just the overboard male voice, like, oh, hello.
Yeah, it's like
so funny.
Totally like one of those soap operas from the 80s, like one of those, you know, yeah.
And then this one, he's like, oh, I'm Melvin. Hi. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's so
it was
weird.
I didn't like it either. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, Melvin. What's up, guys?
My name is Melvin Junko. I live in a garden apartment in the Tromaville dump.
Do you want to go into plot or
Well, that's the
because
thing. I mean, that's
as we go into plot, I'll tell you more shit that I found wrong with this.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, yeah. The only reason I bring all those things up is because that is the opening of this movie is retelling us everything and reestablishing a new version of him. So all the things we just mentioned that we don't like are all established in the opening of this movie in narration.
Yes.
And we find out that it's been several years since the first one ended and that he has completely eradicated crime in Tromaville. Mm-hmm. And everybody's living in harmony. And the way that we know that is that there's, you know, dancing in the streets.
People are playing checkers together.
People are killing roaches on the side of the street together.
Yes, pest control. And they have like, you know, lemonade stands and everyone's happy and eating pie together.
Yeah.
And just having a great time.
And he was able to open the home of the blind with his girlfriend. And he instructs them on basketball games, and he has them walking on the roof as a garden walk.
He tells us that there's a garden on top of the roof. which
Okay, we
see,
laughed
like,
at that.
A little bit of flowers, but there's a fucking blind guy walking up there.
This is the blind guy walking on a roof, and we laughed instantly
I
when we
was
saw him on
laughing
the
a
roof.
lot. I am not going to fucking lie. You know I was laughing a lot. Just because I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
I didn't laugh as much as you. I did laugh out loud at least 4 times, and we'll get to what really was funny to me because almost everything in Tromaville did not land with me. We find out that he has the home of the blind. He's running it with his girlfriend, who is now named Claire, and she's over sexualized, over everything's lingerie, everything's her ass shot. It's just that times 11.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Her cleave is out. It's like it's just magnified with her. I didn't like that because they didn't do that in the first one with her. She was so cute.
Oh, she was cute,
really
but it was
adorable.
like being revealing accidentally.
Yeah,
You know, and
it wasn't
which
overly,
made it kind of fun.
She was a flat out straight up bimbo in this. I did not.
Yeah,
care
she's
for
not even remotely interesting.
It. No.
Yeah, I actually did not want to see her on set, on like screen. There's a few jokes with her that were funny with the actress, but not many. So because he eradicated crime, it turns out that crime is pissed off, and they're called Apocalypse Inc. Apocalypse Incorporated. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Apocalypse Incorporated is pissed off, and so they pull up in a limo to get and kill Toxie so they can take back Tromaville. Okay, and this goes on for. I actually paused it at one point to clean something up. because only we would eat dinner while watching a Troma movie.
It's normal for us.
Yeah, it's normal for us. Okay, so this scene, when I paused it, it had gone on for 17 minutes. And I was just like, holy shit, we're in trouble. Because what happens here is that there's a tire joke where a UPS gentleman is, and I shouldn't say UPS, he's actually called PUS, Puss, is sent out of the limo with a package to give to Toxie. And it's ticking, right? And for some reason, he's got overboard acne on his face, and I don't know what's going on, but he forces Claire to give the package to Toxie inside the house. We don't even see Toxie this entire time. There's like a reveal of him, I guess. The joke is that it's a bomb, and of course, and then it goes inside the house, and she comes outside, Claire. I don't know why she comes out. Oh, because they had left a woman in a wheelchair outside, so she comes and runs out.
Yeah, it seemed like she was running out because she was afraid. That wasn't a run where like, oh crap, I forgot this old lady in the wheelchair. This was a run that would make you think that she's scared of something. Like she was maybe told to get the hell out of the house or something.
Yeah, that's not what happened.
It was very weird.
She yells something and she comes out of the house and she's away from the house. And the UPS guy, the PUS guy, he is trapped by the woman in the wheelchair, and he knows the house is going to blow up. So he's like fighting her. So he starts punching her, and then I think he takes out a machine gun.
No, he takes out a freaking shotgun and blows her away. So the whole scene is like so stupid because she's like holding on to his leg, this lady in the wheelchair, for no reasoning whatsoever.
No, it's because her tire is jammed from a croquet hammer.
Okay, so she's stuck in the grass. So she's pulling on his leg to get out of this hole.
And she's just rambling, I'm stuck. And he's just like, you broad, you stupid broad, get off of me. It goes on, and then he just, like I said, he punches her in the face and then takes out a machine gun from absolutely nowhere and just riddles, or a shotgun, and riddles her.
I mean, it's the most ridiculous scene. So she comes running out. This is now Claire. I can't say Claire because her name is weird. Fucking Sarah. Yeah. Like, why would you do this? Uncle Lloyd, damn it. But anyway.
The house blows up.
The house freaking explodes where all the blind people are dead. And there's debris everywhere. But my favorite scene right now is that there's a limousine outside of the house that just exploded, mind you. And there's like, the bad guy is in there. Dominic bad guy with the goatee, the whole thing, and the girlfriend, because they always have a crazy girlfriend. Oh, the girlfriend is always wearing like the reddest lipstick, the darkest mascara.
She's got a lot of hats.
And a crazy hat. So she's got a crazy hat. But the best scene ever is like, so Toxie comes out of the rubble, right? And this guy, the criminal mastermind guy in the freaking limo, sends out this clown car of henchmen.
No, don't.
I have to talk about the freaking henchmen.
Before that happens, I knew you were going to get into it too quick. Before that happens, the funny part is that when Toxic comes out of the rumble, it's complete styrofoam pieces.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
But there's two guys, and they're just hysterically laughing that they had blown all these blind people up, and they're putting up a sign. A guy comes out with signs out of the limo. He has signs out of the limo.
And he has like a construction hat on.
Yeah, and they're laughing. They're like, do you see how I killed all those people?
And then they cover up the sign that says the home for the blind, and they put apocalypse, what is it? Incorporated sign. So like they took over the land, like
yeah, well,
took over the land.
So Toxie goes and kills these two guys, and this is one of the better parts because he picks up the one guy in the construction suit and he turns into a dummy and he throws him around for a little bit, and then he takes the other guy, the PUS guy, and sticks him in the wheelchair of the woman he killed. And then crushes him in the wheelchair.
Oh my god. He folds up the wheelchair and folds his body into it as he's folding up the wheelchair.
And you couldn't stop laughing because he had garbage bags for legs.
I was dying. Like, I could not take it. I'm so sorry. Like, I just could not take it. His garbage bag legs, like first of all, this guy was wearing regular trousers. He was wearing the brown outfit, like, the UPS guys. But I don't know why they've decided to make his legs garbage bags
Yeah.
with shoes.
Because he's on the other side of it, and they're like trying to hide his body, but he pushes him so hard that his body falls in half.
His guts come out. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's like there's never been so many guts. Like,
Yeah.
how many guts does this
It goes
guy
on for
have?
a little bit, and
It's hilarious.
okay, I was like, okay, or at least they're going back for the gore and
I
the
was
insanity of
dying.
the first one. So I was like, okay, at least we're getting back on track.
Well, he could knock someone's head off, very easily, like it's nothing. But then, as the movie progresses, that all changes.
Well, that's the funny part about Toxie is that he ends up killing people in the most insane ways, and it's like, and that's like one of the highlights of the series. He takes the other guy and he wraps the rose bushes around his throat, and the rose bush, like the vines of the roses, completely open his throat, and he's bleeding out. And then he takes the roses and stuffs them in his eyes.
It's overkill and it's unnecessary, but it's very entertaining.
It's entertaining in that.
I love those kind of scenes.
At least right now, this is where I'm like, okay, at least they're going for these moments from the first one. It's still not working,
love
and
it.
it seems off, but it's still going for the first one's funny jokes.
I love
of
it.
The kills.
It
Anyways.
makes me so happy to see like those kind of kills where like and actually it's not like watching a freaking Giallo movie where like there's paint for blood. It actually he's using like that blood that you.
It
can...
looks vile,
Yeah,
although
it's
you know
gross.
it's like fake. It looks vile.
But it's great. It's great. I
So
love it.
here we are. This is what you were getting at. A clown car of gangsters come out and they start playing that swing song when you don't got that swing. You
ain't got a
that-
thing if you ain't got that swing.
yeah, they're playing
Yeah.
that song, and in like Casio keyboard version of it, and gangsters just keep coming out of the car,
so
and there's
fun.
like I think about 6 come out.
Okay, but did you realize that they were all the village people?
Yeah, there's a lot of that though.
There
Like,
was like a biker guy that was like from the gay bar in
there was a yes.
in the Police Academy movie.
Yeah, there was an Indian,
There was an Indian.
a construction
There was
worker.
a construction worker.
There was
Oh.
there's also
There wasn't like a navy guy.
there wasn't a Navy guy, but there was like a rabbi. There's like a
There was a
weird
rabbi.
stuff comes
There
out.
was a little person.
That's the next.
Oh my
It
god!
happens again because he kills all these people. Now, the thing that's even the worst thing about this joke, I don't even know if it's the first round because he just starts killing these guys, and then there's a second round of these bad guys coming out of the car, and there's so many different people that they surround him and start doing a can dance.
Oh my god! Okay, so there's obviously a man in drag, which they did in the first
Oh,
one.
it's all the
which
offensive
is
things
just
you can think
every
of.
single thing you can possibly
Oh,
think
yeah.
of, like all there's like gay undertones. There's ridiculous, like cliche Italian gangsters. There's a Native American for no reason. It's just every single henchman you could possibly imagine in any scenario.
There's a man with dwarfism. There,
yes.
like you said, there is shockingly Michael J. White in his first movie ever.
Oh my
and he's
God.
in this movie a lot.
First of all, he looks really good.
Oh, he always has, and he's
God.
never not look like that. The guy is in peak physical
He's
condition.
incredible
He's incredible.
looking.
I cannot believe he's not more famous.
Yeah.
The guy should be Jax in every incarnation
Oh
of
my god, I
Mortal
was
Kombat.
thinking of that, and I didn't want to think about Mortal Kombat at all during this because, that's Annihilation is not a good situation in this house. However,
Get to it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
really thought the whole time, oh my god, he could be Jax. For
without
real.
a doubt, forever. This is
Yeah.
Spawn. Spawn is in this movie. His
Yeah,
first
he's
appearance
so
is,
good.
and he comes out. Okay, so I don't even know who to talk about first. He kills all these people. He takes the guy with dwarfism and he picks him
Oh
up
lord.
and he squishes him into a basketball and starts playing basketball
Oh
with
my
him.
god. I was like, oh no.
It's-
Like, I knew that was coming because he mentioned the basketball thing, and I was like, okay, this is a little person. He's going to do something terrible. I just know it. And his body was literally squished into his head, so he was only a head, and he was using him as a basketball. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, he punches like a rabbi guy in the head on top of his head into the ground, and he squishes into his hat, and he's just like feet.
Oh
And
my
it's
god,
just,
he
like,
started
walking
dancing.
around.
He started dancing
Yeah.
away. I was
Oh,
dying.
No, he kills the two guys from the Village People, the construction worker and I believe the biker. He takes their heads, he pushes their heads so hard into each other they blow up like dynamite.
Oh my, I was dying.
And then for some bad reason, their bodies without heads start dancing.
I laughed more than I should have.
Not at this. We were both like, oh
And
no.
I looked over at
this
you
is
and I
so
was
bad.
like, I'm afraid because if I laugh right now, he's going to think like, oh my God, I can't take this being with this woman anymore.
No, you were
like,
even you looked at me like, oh no.
I was like, should I laugh right now or is he going to judge me? Is he going to judge? I can't. It was so, I don't even know how to describe it. Everything about this film up to this point is so outrageous. And I
would say not. I would say the opposite. I felt like this was like they took the first movie and they gave it to like the Zucker brothers, but the Zucker brothers not when they were good, now.
Right.
You know, like when they made like what's the Leslie Nielsen Fugitive parody movie? That one, it was awful.
Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Wrongfully Accused or something. It's like that. It's that bad. It's like it's spoofed to the level of not funny.
It's like you almost like you don't want to laugh because it's just so bad. But then part of you is saying, yes, laugh because this is supposed to be this dumb. But I don't know if they were trying to achieve that dumb. I think they were trying to achieve dumb, but not that dumb. I mean, that level of like, you can't even laugh at it kind of dumb.
This movie is on a next. This is like a child did the movie.
It is. It really is. And I was just like, okay, so up until this point, is there really a plot? I mean,
we got to talk about stuff that happens.
There's kind of a plot. Oh, we have to talk about all of this.
So look,
there's a scene I got to get to.
Michael J. White is a nunchuck. You know, he's got like nunchucks and he's like doing all this stuff and he's flexing his muscles and he looks great. And they're fighting and they're actually fighting to a standstill type of thing. And then Michael J. White gets a alert on his phone and on his watch that he has to go. That's time for
Wait, isn't it time for his like taekwondo class or something?
Something. And he goes, "Oh, I gotta go. My time's up." And he runs off the movie and does like a silly wave and jump, and he runs off the film.
Chicken pot pie get done in the oven?
I don't know. He just gets away, and I mean, he kills all of these people in stupid, silly ways. It's not even a lot of it doesn't even stand out. I think we've talked about the ones that stand out.
Yeah,
but then they realized like we couldn't blow him up, and he just killed all of our best men. We have to get out of here. So they drive off.
Wait, did you notice that Toxie's like whole general look changed?
Not so much.
I mean, do you think he looks darker? Do you think he looks darker, like his skin tone? Because
that's another thing. This movie has a lot of technical problems in the transfer. I love that we have a Blu-ray because he looks muckier in this.
Yeah, he does look.
And
like
the
he looks
audio
charred.
Is wild. The audio is inconsistent. There is so many technical glitches.
There's a lot of ADR.
There is rips in the film. There's like tears. You know, all of that. The coolest thing that we can talk about with Toxie's new look is that he has an animatronic eye.
Okay, yes.
So it moves around a lot. It actually kind of
out.
looks fun at certain times, except when you can actually see his other eye doesn't move. So the other eye is just wildly moving around sometimes.
It is. You can't have it all, man.
You can't have it all. You need to stop the eye from moving at least sometimes.
I don't know how they were controlling it with like a button underneath his
there was no controlling.
Prosthetic. However,
you're being generous. They had a googly eye that just was swirling around.
I mean, they can't just put an eye in there and have it work. Someone had to control this shit.
I doubt it. It's just on random movement.
They had a budget of $2.5 million.
How? That is okay. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even look into that because I didn't want to be disgusted, and I am now. And thank you.
Didn't make even a portion back.
2.5 million, you said?
Yes.
2.5 million in 89.
Yes.
That's insane. That isn't really an independent movie. And that's okay when you break it down and say they made it into 2 films. At least there's a little bit there, but holy shit. Let's get back into the movie before we talk about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, the villains get away, and he has to now he finds a baby in a tree. a blind baby in a tree
I mean,
and gives him back to his blind mother who survived the blast.
Oh my god.
He
She was the
finds
only
his-
one that survived the blast of the entire place of the blind
Except for his
the
girlfriend.
blind facility that he was, taking care of. She's the only one beside the girlfriend. That's it. Everyone else got blown up.
Yeah,
was
we
terrible.
find Claire. He finds Claire. They get together. He's like, he feels bad, and we get an entire montage that he's upset and depressed because he's been living without crime, and his like the whole thing about him is that his superpower is that he detects crime, and he can like go and kill it. And that's a thing. They actually call it traumatons or something in this movie.
Traumatons.
They try to make things make sense.
It's like Spidey sense, except for Tromaville.
So
If you're
stupid.
living in Tromaville, you have
Yeah,
to have traumatons.
Even the montage of his depression sucks. Like the joke is now that
does.
he now eats toxic waste and drinks bleach and
Oh,
eats Drano. and-
Okay, when
It's
did
not
that
funny.
start? Because
Yeah.
that never was in the first one.
And also, it keeps making me go, how has he not killed his girlfriend?
Okay,
She's blind, first off.
Yes, and
It's
she
not-
lives in this toxic sludge environment where like everything is just there's toxic waste everywhere.
And
Like,
then she makes a joke later on that she says, I love you. And he's like, how do you know? And she's like, well, sometimes I get a burning sensation all over my body. And also I get these,
the tingles.
tingles.
The
And
tingles.
he's like, that could be the toxic
Oh,
waste.
maybe that's a toxic waste. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, she's probably dying.
How could you be so sure?
Oh, well, my skin tingles all over whenever I'm near you. And I get little hot sensations all over my body. And sometimes my mouth gets dry.
Yeah, that could just be a biochemical reflex.
Oh, no, Melvin. Sometimes I see little electric flashes that light up the darkness. It's love, believe me.
It should be funny.
It's not
It's
though.
not, though.
Especially since they turned her into a freaking laughing
Yeah,
stock. She's like a
it's-
bimbo. She's not endearing at all, like Sarah in the first one.
Yeah, and they even do a shameless sex scene again, like they did in the first one. But in the first one was kind of like funny and cute. He has his therapist. He has a therapist. In the opening, they're like,
Yes.
I have these people in my life. And they show freeze frames of some of these people, and then they don't really come back. And they're
No.
like, oh, I have a therapist now.
But he's had, I'm sorry, excuse me, 46 therapists.
oh,
he's
God.
been
I
through
can't believe you picked that up.
Okay, I was paying attention.
Well, he has a therapist, and there's a scene where the therapist is like trying to ride him, and he's just like taking, and she's telling him that he has problems with his father, who had left him when he was a child, so he doesn't even know his dad. And she's like, well, that all comes from your dad. You have to find your dad.
Yeah, I don't
And
think he
he's-
has daddy issues. I'm just saying.
Your dad is named Junko. His last name it's Big Mac Junko, and he moved to Japan. Now, all that stuff is coming out, and we get another sidebar where we get to meet the villains.
Which I love.
God bless you, because we get an entire stupid Dr. Evil scene, but this room is filled with at least 65 people.
It's like all the Tromaville mutants. Like everyone
Yeah,
who's ever worked
anybody
on
who's
any
ever worked on
trauma,
anything, yeah.
like the whole trauma family is in this room, and you have to watch everybody in the background because they're all laughing or making stupid faces or something,
doing jokes.
or doing some kind of joke that's supposed to be funny but it's not. But they know that they're on camera, so they're kind of like embracing it, and it's just kind of like a hype show.
Yeah, and since Lloyd Kaufman has never met a second take in his life,
he went to the Ed Wood School of Filmmaking.
no second takes here. You can't afford it. Just keep bringing the camera. Sometimes it takes its time around a guy's back, so the shot is just a guy's back. It's terrible. And now everybody's supposed to be funny. We at least 6 heads of different families. At least, I think there's more. All have a big giant line of dialogue how they're a villain and how they're destroying the planet and how fun it is. And each one of them has to do it, but they're basically like the same thing over and over and over. It was like, we're destroying the ozone layer. Ha 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 ha. I've spit a lot. I'm eating while I'm talking. I'm smashing eggs into my face. None of it is funny.
Like, they want to destroy the ozone layer. They want to create chaos on Earth.
they're
They want
dumping-
everything to fall apart.
And
I don't understand these villains.
it's
This
so
is your reasoning?
stupid. And there's one giant villain that's watching from a balcony.
It looks like they're like some kind of like Nazi organization from that logo and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm like,
sure, that's
what
the
is this?
joke.
Okay,
it's
but-
not as funny as the first one with the secret Nazi and all that's way funnier. In the
Yeah,
first
and they
one.
keep recycling people from the last movie, which is, it's
You recognize everybody.
you recognize like the mayor in the last one is in this, and the bad guy from the last one is in this, and they just kind of pop them in like we're not going to notice. But they have to recycle because their budget was not that great. But actually, for 1989, this is a pretty decent budget.
It's
for
insane.
a
It's
Troma
disgusting.
movie.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Because it
crazy.
doesn't look like they spent that much.
This movie probably had more of a budget than I would say. What's that turkey one that they did?
That's not them.
No,
I don't think so. I think that's another indie person.
no, they did a turkey one. No,
Are you talking about Thanksgiving?
no. There's one with a turkey that killed. Oh, chicken, the chicken one.
Poultry guys.
Poultry guys. Poultry guys.
Well,
That one was a piece of crap.
Gobble, gobble, motherfucker. Now that's what I call foul play.
So we get the villains. The villains are in this room, and they're all saying dumb shit. And then the villains are all like, it doesn't matter what y'all doing. And they're basically like they're controlling the whole planet. And they're like, doesn't matter. None of you guys are doing good because Toxie still exists. And if we don't have Tromaville, then we don't have New York. And if we don't have New York, we don't have Chicago. And if we don't have that, we don't have the world. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's so stupid. They're like, oh, because we have Toxie's shrink on the payroll, we know we can get him to think that he has to go to Japan. And because we're trying to invent like anti-traumatons to take away his superpower. Because we know that his superpower is traumatons. It's just so nonsensically stupid that it's not even funny. It's not. If anything, these jokes should all be setting up a funny joke.
I mean, yeah.
Nothing is.
Yeah,
Nothing
they
is
tried to
setting
set up a plot, but they were just like, okay, what's the bare minimum that we could do? Oh, fun fact. Poultrygeist had a budget of $500,000. Now, that movie came out in, let's see. When did that movie come out? 2006? So
yeah.
that came out way later than this one, and it had a lower budget. So you would think that this movie would have totally killed it, but...
It kind of did. This movie kind of did. So, yeah. Look, the only sensible thing to do now in the movie is have Toxie say goodbye to his girlfriend because he's going to go to Japan. And now he's going to go to Japan to find his father. And he can get over. So that's when they have a sex scene and he shoots steam out of his ears. It's just so
everything is so
dumb.
Three Stooges kind of like, like
it's not even that. It's
slapsticky.
just like
it
bad Looney Tunes jokes.
Yeah, it's like bad
not even fun.
slapstick. It's bad.
Yeah.
Three Stooges.
Very childish jokes. And
yeah.
This is one of the rare jokes that's actually funny. He says, I decided to get, because I needed to find my father so badly, I needed to get to Japan as fast as possible. So I took the best transportation I could find. And it's a parasail.
Okay, I was fucking laughing because I can't help myself. This was so dumb that I looked over at you and I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to laugh because this is so funny.
It made me laugh. That was a funny joke.
He didn't have a passport. So the fastest way to get to Japan was a parasail.
He didn't even say passport yet, but that comes in the next bit. He just said that's the fastest way to travel with parasail.
Oh my God.
When he gets to Japan, he says, oh, I forgot my passport. So I entered Japan like Godzilla.
I looked at you. I was like, oh God, he's going to lose his shit right now.
This could have been funny.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just him bubbling out of the ocean and a bunch of people screaming. And it's not funny. He also does that. He ruins it because he starts doing that thing where he like clears his nostrils and his ears.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
oh
they
my
tried.
God.
They did try.
It's and now
As good as they could possibly do it, they did it. I mean, he's coming out of the ocean. What more do you want? He looks like he looks like Sloth from the Goonies.
could have
that got
filmed
a
this
freaking,
like
that got charred.
yeah, but they could have filmed it like he was actually Godzilla and he was like make miniatures, do something funny, or he walks on whatchamacallit, One Crazy Summer when he just runs into a thing and starts crushing things.
God,
and it turns out it's a model. It's something funny, anything funny.
They
but
had enough of a budget that they could have done that for
it's
sure.
Troma. They could have just painted shoeboxes. It would have still been funny.
Yeah.
It's just they didn't even put any effort. And now what shocked us is that he's really in Japan. They went and took the production to Japan, and we questioned it for a few minutes. Like, there's no way they really went to Japan. And I was like, no, I think they really did.
He's there.
And sure as shit, they did. And now I would say this is probably the best thing about this movie is that the Japanese, I don't know what's happening. I only guess that the first movie was very big in Japan. Because certain cult movies like that blow up in Japan. They love that kind of shit. And so I'm wondering if that's what happened and they brought him to Japan and a whole bunch of people in Japan were in on it. Like all wanting to be in the movie. And what I read was that Lloyd Kaufman was told that these people can all speak English. And then he found out that wasn't true. So not many people in this movie can speak any English. And also nobody's overdubbed and half of the jokes are not subtitled. And so there's a lot of talking in Japanese and you're not being told what the hell is going on.
I'm like, are we going to be let in on this joke? Because we as the audience are sitting there like listening to Japanese, which I think is a beautiful language, but I don't know what they're saying.
Especially in certain
I'm like,
scenes.
Hello, can we know what's going on here? So I asked you at one point, can you put on the subtitles? And you're like, no, because the subtitles won't even work.
Yeah, they're not there.
So I was like, what is happening right now? But I love the idea of him filming in Japan. I feel though, as these the citizens of Japan some of them were genuinely scared when they saw him. It seemed like they didn't tell a lot of these people that he was just walking down the street willy-nilly.
I don't think that's true.
Well, their reactions look real to me.
That's what I was going to get at. I think that the people in Japan were on board 100% and having a blast and blowing everybody else out of the water. And I was like, okay, this is one of those moments that, again, some of the wacky comedy doesn't work and there's a lot of slapstick again, but there's so much absurdity and funny reaction faces and stuff like that. And just stuff that made me laugh that it was just like someone trying to act but couldn't. And it was a lot of that. And it just felt so spontaneous and funny. And it just like the culture clash where I was like, okay, this feels like the first one now. And and again, we get another like a cute girlfriend or a cute girl that he's going to hang out with. And she's funny and she's going for it. And she's doing a lot of slapstick that's actually kind of cute, kind of funny. It's really odd. And I'm like, okay, this is funny. But again, it's just montages of him walking around the city and being filmed like pranking people.
It feels like
or just walking around, and then those are the people who are maybe scared or just like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah, it feels like a hidden camera show
all of a sudden.
At some point where like, or Johnny Knoxville's dressed as the old man, that kind of thing in Jackass, where like he's walking down the street to see how many reactions he can get from people. I think they just filmed like at least an hour of that.
Yeah, it's
because it just doesn't gel right with the situation.
Absolutely, it's almost like the girl that's his sidekick in the scenes that he meets. That he saves a girl. I guess I should have said that first. There's a girl who he bumps into while he's going to go try a fish, like a food that's smashed into a fish, and then like it's like basically like a biscuit. It's shaped like a fish. And it's got
kind
meat in it.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. Like there's like a street vendor who's like making food. Like it's like some kind of like, say like a beef patty, but like in the shape of a fish.
Yes.
And he was like loving that.
And the girl that he sees there, she doesn't freak out. She's like the only person that doesn't scream when she sees him.
Right.
And then she goes off, and instantly she is raped. I'm not raped, but almost raped. Assaulted.
She's assaulted
by a woman. and two guys
Yeah.
who actually rip her top off and then just start kissing her and while the other one's laughing.
This is broad daylight,
Yeah.
okay, which it appears to be happening in a park, which is very off-putting also
It
because
felt like it was on a bridge
I
somewhere.
feel like it's on a bridge in a park in broad daylight, but it's off-putting and uncomfortable in ways that like this girl looks like she's maybe no more than 12 or 13 years old.
Yeah, that's
Which
just,
is like, you know, a lot of the young Japanese girls look super duper young. So she's probably at least in her 20s.
Oh,
but
yeah, absolutely.
I still feel like I'm just like very uncomfortable with this. And it was like really not necessary, to be honest with you. They could have shown them like, you know, picking on her or like, and there's no reasoning to pick on her. There's no explanation as to why they pick on her. They just rip her top off and start like trying to like molest her in the broad daylight for no reason. It was just very bizarre.
I would say there's nothing funnier to hear than unnecessary and trauma in the same conversation. I mean, the
well,
whole
trauma
movie
itself is unnecessary.
Yeah, the whole movie in itself is unnecessary. I mean, they do things to do them. It's like they have to remember. They have a checklist, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have to do gore. Oh yeah, we have to show a naked person. Oh yeah, we have to have something that's skeevy." It's like
They have to keep up with their brand.
yeah, it's like, oh
know?
yeah, we forgot we were making a movie. Like we're just it. What
Yeah.
I was gonna say was that he goes and saves her, and again, to nail that this movie, these scenes feel like the first movie. One of the funniest bits is that one of the men who are like trying to rape her, he takes the pan that is the mold of the fish, and he sticks it on his nose and crushes his nose until it also is the shape of the fish.
I laughed
And-
more than I should have.
And I was like, okay, this is great. This feels like the insanity of the original. And the actors are so on board for it. They're giving it their all. And I was like, I love this so much. And after that, it goes away. And again, it just becomes now that he gets with this, you know, him and his woman become friends. And she goes and takes him on what I would call just a tour of the movie.
Well,
it's just like, oh, now we're gonna go dancing.
They're
Oh, we're gonna go
supposed
play
to be
pinball.
looking for
Oh,
his father.
yeah, she's like, I'll help you find your father, and she can't speak English very
No.
well.
Many thanks. I'm forever in your debt, kind sir.
Don't call me sir. My name is Melvin. Call me Melvin.
I am Masami.
Haji Mameshte.
You put yourself in terrible danger. Not many men would do that. I must repay you for saving me. I will do whatever you wish.
Hey! How about helping me find my father?
Picnic Joko, come. I have many contacts on the street.
She's taking him around to like the arcades and like the restaurants and places like that where locals hang out and asking around for his father.
And I would say that's loosely. It's just a tour. It's just
It-
him on tour with a
It
tour guide.
basically is, yeah.
Yeah, and we're just watching it.
It
and
feels like a press junket.
Yeah. And what's funny, we didn't point this out, but the movie actually starts with a badass new song made for the Toxic Avenger, which sounds like a
Yes.
heavy metal band or an 80s metal band singing
Yes.
about the Toxic Avenger. It's great.
90-pound weakling who got pushed around. They dressed him up in a big tutu. They beat him up and they threw him down. He landed in a barrel of waste. Toxic chemical ate his face. He mutated, energized by traumatized. The Jersey hero's gonna play his place. Yeah. Toxic Avenger.
And then the movie doesn't, the scenes that he's walking around these cities, it just doesn't play anything
doesn't
interesting.
no.
It should be playing these rad songs again.
Yeah. You know, I like totally live for the 80s punk rock movement. Like, I just love it. Like, new wave. And they could have totally put that in there.
Yeah, could have put anything. Especially since he goes to, there's one part where he goes to a show being put on in the street by a punk band.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of like, he just dances with them and everything. And that's like more fun than the soundtrack. Like I'm like, do more of this. Nope, the movie just got to move on, and it gets to the point where he randomly keeps like bumping into bad guys or whatever, and then he finally finds his father. Right.
Which I asked you, I'm like, okay, first of all, we know Melvin from the first movie and what he actually looked like.
Oh, by the way, we actually got a flashback at one point that retells the movie, and the villains actually talk about this. They go, "Oh, his name was Melvin, and he was thrown in an accident in the second reel of the first movie." They actually say that at one point when they're showing a slideshow of the first movie,
which kind of made me giggle, even though it was stupid.
It's so stupid. That kind of made me laugh as well. It's like, okay, at least they're referencing how dumb this is.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, half the jokes don't land, so it doesn't even matter.
No, they really don't, but, like, for someone like me who, like, slapstick stupid comedy, I was just, like, kind of giggling to myself a lot.
It reminded me of, like, Spaceballs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's funny. And, like, so when they bring up that first movie again, you're kind of like, oh, they are saying the first movie existed. This isn't a redo.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it kind of feels like a reboot, but they're also saying it's a sequel.
It would have been funny if they made fun of themselves and said, "Hey, we changed our actress from Sarah to Claire."
They could have done anything, and they could have also said that his name was still Ferd until he found out they had a father, and his father's name was Junko, so that means his real name is Junko. That they could have done that, but they instead said that his name was always Junko, and they pretend like Ferd never happened.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is like, why would you do that? So easy to fix.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, they didn't even think. It was just like they're just throwing their shit out. You know, whatever it is, it is. Like, they're not even thinking about that they did have a movie before this. It's like, you know, whatever. We're going to do whatever we want because we have a $2.5 million budget this time.
And I think a lot of that was Lloyd Kaufman and his wife going, I want to go to Japan. And they were just like, let's spend the money on a vacation and call it part of the movie.
Yeah, but, you know, this is part of the budget here. I mean, they had to fly all these people out there.
Not many. There's nobody
you need a
involved.
Cameraman, a boom mic operator. You need a couple people.
Oh, yeah. This movie's got a boom mic operator. Sure. This movie don't got any.
Excuse me,
no
sir.
way.
There's $2.5 million to spend here. And it's
like
not
I said,
happening on the budget of his makeup.
He probably stayed in the best hotel and probably partied, him and his wife. There's no doubt in my mind. They just used this. And in fact, the actor who's playing Toxic Avenger, the main character, was pissed off on the set. And he hated his makeup and was talking crap and tried to get this other guy fired who was doing the voice. And
no way.
They instead fired that actor. They fired the actor who's playing the Toxic Avenger and replaced him with the other actor who is like his stunt double and the voice, I guess, whatever. So they replaced him. And unfortunately, they had to double credit them because Lloyd Kaufman just used all the footage anyways that he already filmed with the guy he fired. So all the stuff in Japan is that other actor.
So that other actor got paid and he didn't have to do a shit.
Well, he did a lot of work and then they fired him during the movie. But yeah, he's also in a scene too. I believe the scene where there's a guy who randomly has like Jaguar paint on his face and he's walking a dog man at one point.
Yeah, I don't know what that even is.
They don't really explain it, and the dog man just keeps disappearing and coming back once in a while. It doesn't go anywhere. He
pops up at the beginning and the end of the movie.
Yeah, he's there in the background in a shot. It's
so weird.
But anyways, that actor is the actor who's Toxic Avenger. He's punching himself in the head.
No way.
He punches his head and spins around like The Exorcist.
No.
Like he wanted to be physically shown in the movie. So I don't know.
You can't even see his face because he looks like a dog.
No. The guy's walking him. The guy who punches his head around.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's what makes me laugh here. Now, what we were really talking about was he finally sees his father, and he's like, "Dad, it's Melvin." He screams from across the street. And by the way, one of the funniest jokes is everybody's screaming when they see Toxie, so she dresses him like a regular Japanese man, and she puts a hair on him.
It was the funniest thing. I know you didn't think this was funny, but she puts like a wig on him and glasses. He looks like Clark Kent has gone like completely mental.
I loved it. I actually thought that was a funny joke.
And she put like a camera around him so he looks like a.
And I think he was holding
like
a briefcase.
Tourist, but he's supposed to be looking like a Japanese man.
Yes.
But he looks like a tourist. It's hysterical. But he has like this burnt, disgusting facade going on.
Yeah, it's really
But
dark
he
in some
has a
scenes.
wig on. I was dying.
Yeah, it's hard to even tell the wig's on him because it's just like matches his burnt look.
It does.
Well, he sees him, and unfortunately, he ditches his look while he's running in slow motion because his dad sees him. Now, the actor playing his dad is doing some kind of Godfather joke in Japanese at the same time. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And he goes, Melvin. He instantly knows him. And he goes, Melvin, my boy.
I mean, he's famous in the United States, so why wouldn't he?
Not really.
I mean, he
in
is.
a small town called Tromaville.
Everybody knows he's a superhero. He's
Oh.
on the news.
I guess.
He was on the news at the end of
I don't
the
think,
last movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's that famous, though. I think there's like, oh, some weird guy's mutated.
So he's just accepting that his son is Melvin, and
says
he's the
his-
Toxic Avenger now.
Yeah, and they run to each other in slow motion. They go hug. Now, one of my favorite bits is that at the same time this happens, a truck full of people walking fish over drop onto the floor, and drugs come out of the fish, and the new sidekick girl goes over there and starts sampling the cocaine. And
It's the most comical
I
thing.
loved it. You pointed out in this shot, there's a person sitting there smoking a cigarette, and they wouldn't move.
So you didn't even notice
They
this, but
blocked the shot.
He's wearing like this oversized hat, and he's kneeling down on one knee. And you're so focused on what the sidekick girl is doing, which she's like basically eating all the coke.
It's really funny. That joke's funny.
It is funny. And then you don't notice in the foreground, there's this guy sitting there.
But the reason I didn't notice it, because it's all in black.
He's all dressed in black, yes.
It's
yes.
like black.
He looked like a
bodysuits.
ninja. Yeah.
And you can't tell it's a person. It almost looked like a fire ant. But then I realized you're right. There was a hand smoking.
It was a hand.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a person? Do you think they just didn't leave and they
I'm
just
like,
had to film this?
No, there's a reason why they put him there. And I was like, okay, this guy's gonna pop up and something's gonna happen.
No.
But he never.
Never does. we don't even know if it's a guy. We're saying
Oh,
a
we're
guy.
just saying a person, a
Yeah.
human being, whatever.
And I love that the sidekick character will keep sampling the cocaine. And at the same time, Melvin starts freaking out Toxie because he's sensing evil. Right?
So his, what do you call it? Toxogens? No, what do you call it?
Traumatons.
Tromatons. I like toxogens.
The traumatons are acting up and he's freaking out. And the girl keeps sampling the cocaine. She's like, oh my God, there's cocaine in the fish. And then she keeps sampling and she's like, go cross-eyed. Behind her in the shot, there's a bunch of people just shaking in terror over nothing.
Yeah.
It's really
I
odd.
think that they missed their cue.
Yes, I think that they didn't know which scene they were filming because they probably couldn't speak the language.
They're supposed to be like scared that Citizen Toxie was coming their way, but he totally wasn't.
Yeah, and that's when he realized his dad is a drug dealer and a villain. So they have to fight. And for some reason we now jump to like a temple, like a Japanese temple. They're already there. And the villain, his dad says, you're right. You know what? I work for Apocalypse Incorporated. I invented something called anti-traumatons that can take away your traumatons.
Oh my God, I got so nervous. Because like, wait. I got nervous. I got nervous because like, oh my God, if he drinks this shit, he's going to turn back into regular Melvin. He's not going to be Toxic Avenger anymore. But I know that there's 2 more movies to watch. So he doesn't drink the shit.
Well, I would never get nervous. The only time I'm gonna get nervous is watching the 3rd one.
Well, I said to you, I looked over and I was like, oh my God, it's going to be normal again? Because we don't like Melvin. He's a Poindexter.
He's a full pervert.
He's a pervert Poindexter.
It's uncomfortable.
Weirdo, and he just, yeah.
Yeah, the non-Toxie version of Melvin.
We don't like Melvin.
So Toxie now has to fight. He yells out bonsai, and a guy walks over and hands him a bonsai tree. And I was
funny.
like, one of the funnier jokes.
It was funny. Like, you have to admit, like, I was like,
No,
wow.
it's stuff like that. It's stuff
I was laughing.
It's stuff with the Japanese that they seem really into what they were doing, and they just seemed like they were having a ball. And they also just scream acting made me laugh. And also the running joke is that everybody keeps hitting the new sidekick girl in the face. And then I kept laughing. Like the father kicks her in the face. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, that looked real.
Yeah.
And also she accidentally Toxie ducks, and she gets punched in the face, and then she gets ready to fight, and then she accidentally punches herself in the face.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
That
like,
all that stuff
with
is like
the side character was so Three Stooges.
But that
it
was the funniest
ridiculous.
bit. That's the parts that were actually kind of fun. It was just you could tell that there's just like I think a culture thing about that's just so much fun, and you could tell that they love what they're doing.
They totally embraced every moment of what they were doing.
I think that's why I've always loved like the Godzilla films and all that kind of stuff. Just the Japanese cult underground of horror movies. Everything that they do seems like they love it. Like just love it.
The Japanese in general are just amazing. Like they just love everything.
Whereas the Troma gang in America feels like they just all are looking for their next bump of cocaine, and they just are filming skeevy scenes to get on with it. Like half of them are looking into the camera, and you know
they all are. All the henchmen in that freaking scene of like the apocalypse scene, they were all looking at the camera. I was like, oh Lord.
Yeah. So he's got to fight his dad, and his dad transforms into a sumo wrestler, and he's got to fight his dad.
Yeah.
And there's multiple bad guys keep showing up and all this stuff. Anyways, the best part of one of the best parts of the movie, because the movie forgets to do gore a lot of the time.
Yeah, they did it in the beginning.
Yeah.
They did it in the beginning, and it was the end of it. Yeah.
The Japanese stuff, they kind of lose it a little bit, but this scene is so gory and funny. There's random things that happen. There is a woman who accidentally is like I guess a villain. Her clothes get ripped off. She gets naked while two people are having a cooking show. And the woman falls on the guy's lap while he's sampling food, butt naked and having like orgasmic sounds. And the guy's like so into it. And that's a running joke that keeps happening now because
it's so
he starts
gratuitous.
Walking the naked woman down the street.
Yeah.
And while that's happening, there's a guy who's cutting at the sushi bar. He's cutting sushi, and he starts getting distracted, but the father gets thrown on the sushi table, and he's distracted by looking at a naked woman, so he just keeps cutting. So he's cutting the father up, and it looks great, and it is disgusting, but it's also funny, because they keep cutting back to the guy looking at the naked girl holding her. Then they cut back to the sushi guy having an orgasm looking at her while he's chopping the father up, and they keep showing the father's body, chopping his body up.
It was amazing.
And it generally is disgustingly funny. It was
funny.
like, this is one of the best parts
That's
of
like
the film.
stupid shit that I love laughing at. Like it's like so stupid that I can't help but laugh. But then I look over at you and I'm like, should I laugh? Will he think less of me if I laugh?
I was laughing really hard at some of that.
I couldn't help it. Like I laughed at a lot of this movie. It was so ridiculous. It was so over the top and absolutely a completely different movie than the first one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I laughed a lot, though. I can't help it. I did. So, yeah, he's chopping up the guy's fucking leg.
Yeah.
It was funny. And the gore was pretty good looking. It was really good looking, actually.
Yeah, the father's completely chopped up.
And he's chopped up.
I mean, it's a great moment. It's like one of the best.
It is. It's good gore.
Yeah, it's good gore. It just reminds me of the original. Melvin was doused with the traumatons, and he loses his power apparently.
Yeah.
And you thought he was going to turn into a human again, but he doesn't. He just loses his power, and he has to go to a sumo wrestler and be taught the ways of sumo wrestling. And you were just laughing. You're like, well, it was just a part of the tour. Do a scene with sumo wrestlers.
And like, what is the reasoning? Like, did they have to cover all of the Japanese culture?
It seemed like it.
Why? Was the
odd.
Stipulation for filming in Japan? Lloyd Kaufman had to have everything covered as far as like, you know, the food, the sumo wrestling, any kind of culture that has to do with it.
We didn't even talk about when he goes to one of the bad guys that were trying to rape the girl. He makes him into a human soup in a bathhouse. We forgot to talk about that.
Oh my god!
He makes him into a soup, like a soup, by boiling the water with his breath.
Okay, I didn't know that Toxie could do that.
No one does. It doesn't do it ever
That's
again.
like a new thing, but like if he could have done that in this whole movie, then the movie would have been over very quickly.
It makes me think, what if he accidentally burps or blows while sleeping on his
Oh my
girlfriend.
god, what if he farts or like his toots could literally destroy a city block?
Exactly. He's like a Black Bolt from the Inhumans.
Oh my
He could
God.
just blow everybody up by making any kind of noise. It's so silly. It's so stupid. But yeah, they actually had an entire bathhouse full of naked people. And I kept saying, I'm surprised they were allowed to film in Japan this way. Because usually you don't see a lot of, like, they're famous for having like hentai, but blocking out the genitalia. You know what I mean? They're always like putting like stuff over the certain things and editing certain things. I know that they do more stuff
yeah.
here. They edit weird.
They didn't
but-
show any vagina or anything or any penis or anything, but they did show a lot of breasts.
Yeah. Well, that one woman's like almost completely naked. They put a little thing
yeah,
over
they
like
put
a modesty pouch.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like they had to because they were not about to go there. You know, like they're not
They felt
accustomed to
close.
the Sleevesville that is Tromaville.
That's why I was surprised. I was like, I'm very surprised that so many people are naked. Like and how many naked jokes they had. I was very surprised.
They had a
about
lot.
it.
It was shocking. But another thing is like it's like almost like you said, like a stipulation in the contract. It's like if Uncle Lloyd is going to film in Japan, then he needs to have nudity.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm saying. Like, is everybody willing to have? Oh, anybody willing to do skeeve on camera?
Yeah. And you know what? That's a lot of people. A lot of people are willing to do skeeve. You know.
Yeah, well, and usually that's not because they have such a. I'm just so surprised. I know it's not. I'm making it more so than it really is, but I was just a little surprised how much nudity they were able to do in Japan.
Yeah.
But yeah, he learns from the sumo wrestlers just the ways of sumo wrestling, and he instantly has his powers back, I guess, because he goes, "Okay, thanks a lot, guys. I'm gonna go home now."
Yes, but what does sumo wrestling have to do with
Who the
being the
fuck
Toxic
knows?
Avenger?
None of it makes sense.
I mean, he was in the first one and in the beginning of the second one, he was able to literally decapitate you with one slap.
Yeah.
And now things have changed so dramatically. It's like he has to, like, he could punch a person and it literally doesn't have the same effect.
It does. In the beginning, he punches a few people in their heads.
Yes, but in the
explode.
middle, it doesn't happen that way anymore. Like when he's fighting, we meet Kabuki Man. We do meet Kabuki Man.
Well, it's not the Kabuki Man or anything
But
that we'll get into later on. But
he's fighting them. There's like a whole street fight of them, and he could easily just knock their heads right off or punch through their guts, but he doesn't do that.
yeah.
It's very weird.
He doesn't do. There's a lot of like cutting around the gore in Japan in this movie. It's just more of the gore is just jokes.
It is.
It's
like, okay, but they don't land right. It's very weird.
No, it could have been like if this was like a Saturday morning live action show like Pee-wee's Playhouse or something. It's just Toxie doing crazy things in a different place. Then it maybe would have been really fun for kids, like just laughing at him like making a guy a soup. Or or making that guy have a fish nose, stuff like that would have been like it would have played. It would have been like Ernest, the Ernest show, and stuff like that. It would have played funny. It's just that when it gets into the dirty aspects, then it kind of ruins it. Yeah. But it just felt like that. It did. It felt like H&R Puff and stuff, or the banana splits running around. It just doesn't make. It's just weird. But what's really odd is the sumo wrestlers teach him the ways, and he goes, "All right, good. I'm out. I'm gonna go home now." So they hand him his parasail, and he just parasails back. And we have to watch him.
He goes back to America like that.
He goes back to America, and then he keeps doing narration like that town. Tromaville is back to being bad while I was gone. And they keep talking about like they show all these bad things. Now, one of the bad things that happens is that they take over Tromaville completely. The Apocalypse Incorporated. And they're making the environment bad. So protesters start protesting them in the park. And one of these two protesters, for some reason, gets an entire scene where they have a horse and carriage because it's better for the environment, not the animal, which is really odd to see two protesters using a tied up horse in a carriage. How do they get around? They are threatened by the Apocalypse Incorporated people, so they leave to go make out on the side of the road, which allows the Apocalypse Incorporated people to completely ram them with a semi-truck.
This is the most ridiculous, unneeded scene in the movie. Like, okay, are we supposed to care
So
about these
many
two
of those
people?
scenes.
The only thing I was really concerned about was how did they do that part with the horse?
I didn't.
Because the car rammed them from behind when they were in the buggy, the horse carriage. And so the horse died. But they went flying. The couple went flying out of the carriage and died. But I saw this scene, and it looked like...
There's no way they did that.
I mean, I know they didn't use a real horse,
Yeah,
for God's
exactly.
sake, but I'm like, how did they do that?
I'm
Because
sure if we freeze it, because they look like two dummies, and I was focused on them flying out of the thing.
I think we need to freeze it.
If you
because
freeze it, it'd just be a block of black wood or cardboard that is a horse.
I mean, it doesn't look like a piece of cardboard. It actually looks like maybe a huge, like, life-size replica of a horse, but I don't know.
I'm
It
shocked
just
that
it
they
was
did.
like ridiculous to me. I was like, okay, why do we need this scene? This is stupid.
It's so odd. I guess it's their way of just showing you how bad everything's gotten.
Yeah, so it's like when Marty McFly goes back in 1985, but it's an alternate 1985, and Biff has like Biff's palace, and he's like, ruling everything. It's like that. It's like an alternate world for Toxie. So like, these people that are like Apocalypse are like running the town. But I motioned to you. I said, what is so funny about this is the fact that these people want to destroy the atmosphere.
Yeah,
They want to kill everything, and they want to destroy the ozone layer, and they want everything to be obliterated. So how...
Even the villains make a joke about that. They say, this is even too insane for us cartoon villains.
Yeah.
Like,
That's funny.
It's stuff like that. I mean, like,
That was
they
funny.
know how stupid it is, but
Yeah.
it still doesn't connect. Toxie, everything's gone so bad, and while Toxie's parasailing back into the city,
Parasailing.
he
Oh, God.
it just so happens, now this is one of the rare moments that I laughed at the actress playing the girlfriend, Claire. She is doing full opera while playing
An accordion.
an accordion, and she's singing like an opera, and she's singing good. And I laugh because the whole movie she's talking like, oh, hi, Toxie, and all of that.
Yeah.
And then she's doing like, oh, and she's doing the whole
It
thing.
was amazing.
And she's just doing it in their slop pile dumpster house. And at that same time, there's a running joke in this movie where the main villain's girlfriend wants to have sex with her. She won't stop talking about her breasts.
Yeah.
Whoop, that was really loud. She won't stop talking about her breasts in this weird way. And she keeps talking about how she's going to grab them.
I've been waiting and waiting to get a hold of these yellow locks and these melon heavy breasts.
And so I guess that's the scene. She finally, and there's just one woman that's like a bodybuilder that keeps showing her muscles in every shot.
It's so gratuitous.
That's
I'm
all
like,
that she keeps doing.
Okay, first of all, she's maybe 5'1".
Yeah.
And she's teeny, but she's got these huge muscles. She's obviously a bodybuilder. But in every scene that they show her in, which is maybe, I would say, a good 3 or 4 scenes, she is flexing her muscles for the camera
just
for
flexes.
no reason. It's
Yeah.
so stupid. I'm like, what is going on here? This has nothing to do with the plot at
Yeah.
all.
And the whole joke here, I guess, is that they have now come to her house, and she thinks it's Melvin coming home, Toxie coming home, but she can't see them, so she keeps like touching each one of them, and the girl flexes and she touches her muscles, and then she finally touches a woman's boobs, and she realizes it's someone else. So they start trying to rape her.
Which is weird.
Yeah,
like
and
women raping another woman?
Yeah, it's this whole thing. Like, she smells underwear. I don't, the whole scene, and she starts yelling for Melvin, and exactly at that time, Toxie is already back, and he hears her screaming for help, and he goes in there. He got home just in time for this, and he just beats up the girls, and then they run off.
It's just so... Everything in this movie seems like, okay, it's like going through the motions, you know? We know exactly what's going to happen next, and it happens. It's like, okay, the next scene. Okay.
There's no way you could guess what happens next. I'm just saying for the viewer, there's no way they could guess what happens next after this scene, because he just scares those girls off, and then they hug, and then you're told by narration that he's going to fight back the city, and that he starts beating all the people up, and we quickly get it, and they're like, oh, and they keep showing shots from the opening fights to say these are the fights in the movie, which doesn't make any sense, and then they go, oh, but the bad guy sent a motorcycle bad guy in, and he was strapped with bombs all over his body, and he was going to drive himself suicidally into their electric, like their power plant, and blow the whole city up. And that was their plan.
Which makes no sense, because that affects them too.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's why I don't understand these villains.
The narration is that if the villains can't have the city, no one can. So they're gonna. So basically, if you watch the shot, it's still from the opening. Apparently, the edit was, if you watch it closely, this is right after all those guys come out of the car and he fights them all from the opening, and then a motorcycle jumps over the limo. So we actually see the shot of this guy driving into that scene, and they act like it's a new scene at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And then he's the main villain, although we don't see him at all. And this leads Toxie to go into a fight to get him by stopping a taxi cab with two old people in the back who are on their anniversary.
Okay, so they're this is so stupid.
So Toxie jumps into the back of the car and tells the cab driver to follow that motorcycle. And
well, why does he follow him? It's like,
so he's like, the city will lose the whole city if we don't stop him. So they chase him, and this leads to the last 10 minutes of the film just being a motorcycle chase. And anything that can happen happens. Cars crash into each other and explode constantly. Motorcycles are jumping over things. Cars are jumping over things. They're making jokes about the old people in the back, complaining about it. The driver is saying, well, the fare is going to be high, and he's cursing in Spanish. And then they even crash into under a semi-truck and lose the top of the car. They all ducked, and they all come up, and he's like, oh, now you got a convertible. Here's a pair of glasses. And he's like, yeah, I got sunglasses. I have a convertible now. Wee-hee. And then they keep chasing them. But then, just then, the motorcycle jumps a car that the Toxie and the old people and the cab driver crash into, and they blow up.
They crashed into this car at full speed ahead, okay? And when I tell you this explosion must have cost a ton of money, this explosion was huge. It was crazy. The whole car was completely blown up. But they're okay.
They just all pop up with
they're
comical burnt faces.
I was like, oh my god, this is like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
It's so stupid.
You know, where like freaking Wile E. Coyote gets blown up and he has like, you know, he's all like burnt with soot all over him and he falls over. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, Toxie has killed so many people while chasing this motorcycle guy, but it doesn't even matter because the motorcycle guy just crashes into a house and blows up instantly.
And I was dying. Okay, yeah. First of all, that was funny because that could never happen. He crashed into a house. Yes, that could happen. But the explosion, the epic explosion that happens when he crashes into the house, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I explained it to you. He in the narration, they said he had bombs on him.
Yes, but where?
He was covered in nitroglycerin.
But he wasn't. They showed us him.
No, they said
when he was driving the motorcycle.
It doesn't matter. They added all this into narration.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
where's he hiding that up his ass? Like, come on.
I don't know. And it's so badly edited together. And they're like, oh, we chased off the bad guys. And we saved the day. And now Tromaville is back to normal. And then
I
they
feel
show
like it's two separate movies.
Yeah. Oh, well, it is. They
I know, but you can feel that.
Oh, it's so...
Yeah.
The narration is terrible.
It's terrible. But you hate narration anyway, like in movies.
Well, narration when it's used like this.
But narration in movies, period, upsets you.
Not period, because I love like American Psycho.
It has to be really good.
Something that actually adds to the plot instead of it being lazy and explaining the movie to the viewer like they're dumb.
It has to make sense and it has to like be smart. Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes the writer lazy, and they're like, we don't really have to show things to make them make sense. We could just tell them. And that's extremely lazy writing. So that's what happens at this. They're like, yeah, we did everything. And, don't worry. Everything's fine because we have to have a sequel. And it's
Yes.
like, oh,
How are we going to see you all in part 3? I was like, okay, well, we know there's a part 3 because there's a part 3 because we have the whole box set. So we know that. But it's just the point that, like, why do you have to say it? Like, that's so...
It was supposed to be funny.
It wasn't. It wasn't funny.
The movie in general, it wasn't funny to me.
I mean, I laughed a lot, I'm not going to lie. I did. I laughed a lot. But do you want to... Are we doing Why We Can't Have Nice Things, or...
Always.
Okay. Well...
Because that leads us into our score.
Okay, sir. Well, there's only one 10-star review in this cesspool of nonsense. And so, I'll read the 10-star review. So, the tagline for this is, highly enjoyable sequel to the world-famous cult classic. Toxic Avenger 2 is the sequel to the Toxic Avenger. Thank you, Guy. Troma received funding from a Japanese investor to help make a sequel about a superhero from New Jersey. After all the filming was completed, Lloyd Kaufman ended up with a 3-hour picture. Figuring out that you can make $2 instead of $1, Kaufman edited the film into 2 different movies. The results... That's funny. The results being Toxic Avenger 2 and 3. The Toxic Avenger 2 is campier and cheesier than the first film, if that was even possible, and it has more of a comic book feel. With no more evil left to combat, Melvin is bored with his mundane life. Because of his toxic condition, job opportunities are very limited. That's until the evil corporation Apocalypse Inc. moves into Melvin's hometown of Tromaville, adding to Melvin's personal conflicts. Word has it that his father is alive and is residing in Japan. What happens next has to be seen. Highly recommended for cult film fans. That was a 10-star review. Now, because I don't...
It's just a synopsis with a, hey, you got to see it. No reason to say why it's a 10.
Right. Well, we don't have a 1-star review.
That's impossible.
We do not. We have a 2-star review.
I don't believe that for a minute, but okay.
Sir, I'm on here.
I thought I looked.
There's no 1-star review.
All right.
Do you want me to read the 2-star, or do you want me to...
I guess not. I don't know how there's not a 1-star.
There is not a 1-star review on here, so...
That the world has thrown me into jeopardy. The planets are not aligned. Everything's on fire. I just don't know what to do with my life anymore.
This movie has a 5. It's a 5 on
all
IMDb.
The movies in the world that we've watched have had 1-star reviews. This doesn't. I mean, I'm telling you,
it does not.
This is why I can't have nice things. This
is why we can't have nice things.
This bothers me to no end.
But this movie is set out to be a piece of crap. I mean,
we've watched genuine, good, decent films, and they've had 1-star reviews.
I know.
No church-going person said anything to give a 1-star review.
No, there's no 1-star reviews at all to be had.
Good Lord.
But I will say, like, I feel like this is definitely like bringing up Ed Wood again to me, because it's like, okay, Japan probably gave him ultimatums, Lloyd Kaufman, and said, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. Just like in Plan 9, or I'm sorry, Bride of the Monster, where Ed Wood was told by the investors from Dallas that he had to do a certain thing, he had to end it in an explosion, blah, blah, blah. I feel like Lloyd Kaufman probably had some stipulations here. He probably had some demands on him, and he probably had to meet those demands. Because he's got a budget here.
You're trying to give him some kind of leeway for what this thing is?
No, I am not. But I'm just saying, like, I would understand if he had to do what he was told. I mean, he has a $2.5 million budget, which at that time was huge, but also, like, he's made movies after that didn't have that kind of budget.
I'm gonna say again, the Japanese stuff, if that was the stuff that he was forced into, is the better parts of the film.
You're right. It is 100%.
Because everything else, if that was all him, is the stuff that sucks.
Well, we don't know. We don't know because
no, I doubt it. I doubt he was forced to do anything. I bet they were just like, oh, go make your crazy thing, but come to Japan. And then he was like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll have a great vacation on top of the money.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna just let him run. I've been drinking. Run crazy, and
What do you mean? That's all he does.
I mean, but I'm sure that they told him that he had to do something like different.
Like what?
I don't know. I mean, they're
There's
paying
nothing
for
really
this shit.
different. There's nothing really different. It's just lazier. It's just like a kid wrote it instead. There's nothing to it. I can't imagine anybody said. I can't imagine they said, "Oh, be less of what made you famous the first time."
I mean, I guess it's just weird because the first one was so much better.
Yeah,
It was so much better.
I
Like,
can't wait to see what the next one is at the next things we're gonna watch, because if this is any indication, we're in for a load of hurt. Because I'm going to straight up say this was terrible. Like, this was straight up trash.
I mean, yeah.
This is one of the worst sequels I've ever watched. It is like there is no way that this sequel couldn't be better. All you had to do was just do what you did the first time, but step up and make it fun. Make more gore. You have a budget now. You can do things like you have fans. You can do crazy shit. Still do your guerrilla filmmaking, and then you have the possibility of bringing it to Japan. That's like huge.
Yeah.
And it's like they missed every opportunity.
I know.
Scotty gives this a 2 out of 10.
I give it a 2 out of 10 as well. I did already give it a 2. But I just feel like, it could have been funny. I just feel like it was missing a lot, and they changed so much. I'm like, why would you change all of this stuff? Like, we liked it the way it was. Why would you fuck around?
I was going to say that while I was watching it, I almost said, oh my God, we finally have something to knock Mortal Kombat Annihilation out of the way. Because there was a part of me that was judging in my mind which one of these would I watch again. And I was like, well, I think I'd watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation again. And then I was like, I'm on the fence. This is bad. I'm just mad. I'm kind of mad because they had everything going for them in the first one, and all they had to do is bring all those funny things back. Instead, they literally rewrote it.
They did.
It's so weird. I can imagine some people will probably like that for like the Evil Dead, when Evil Dead 1 and then they did 2 and it was like the same movie again.
Yeah.
I can imagine there was fans out there that were probably really pissed.
Yes.
But there's something so great about 2 that I wonder if people were like, you know what, I'm a little mad because I wanted a sequel to that movie, especially the cliffhanger. But I wonder if they watched and said, I kind of like this better. Even if you're rebooting, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
You basically make the same movie, but then change the tone, and they went full comedy in that movie. In this movie, they could have done. I mean, they already had it. They already had the movie.
With this kind of budget, you could have. I mean, Tromeo and Juliet cost them $350,000 to make. I mean, you had this kind of money, and you did this silliness. Like, you could have done so much better. Yeah. I just feel like, what are you fucking this shit up for? You had $350,000 for Tromeo and Juliet, but you had 2.5 mil for this one, and you did this.
And I think what it really goes to show, and I already know this for a fact, that Part 4 is a sequel to the first one, and I think they're acting like 2 and 3 never happened, so that tells you how bad 2 and 3 are.
Yeah.
I know this movie's got a 5 on IMDb because there's only like 2,000 people reviewed it, but still.
No, this movie has a lot of reviewers, actually.
It does?
Yes, it does. Like 7,000.
Wow, I actually thought it was... Well, that's not that big, actually. A normal big movie's got like 500,000.
7,222 reviewers.
It's not as big. I mean, how many people use, the rating system as it is? That's not that big. But still, a 5 is crazy. They're giving this movie a lot of leeway. I guess if I was really young and I saw this, I probably would have been like laughing at it, or just said, "Oh, I kind of love it, and I know it's bad, but it's kind of spoofy fun."
Yeah.
I just cannot connect to the jokes in this movie.
No, I mean, I laughed a little. Sorry.
No, I did too, but I just think I have such a bad taste in my mouth from the things they changed.
Yeah, me too. Same. I do too. Like, I mean, just everything from his girlfriend to his mother to his voice to all that stuff. Like, it was, you could feel it. You could feel the difference. And like I said, but here's the thing. I mean, with Troma, everything with them is just like a party. It's like whatever. But I also feel at the same time, it's like you should care a little bit more because, this is your livelihood, But then again, Uncle Lloyd, he's made a freaking life out of these movies. He has built like an empire.
I wouldn't call it an empire, but he's definitely made a name for himself.
I mean, he's made a name for himself. He has an empire. I mean, everyone that goes to SpookyCon in Orlando, they see him and like, hey, he's an icon in the movie industry and occult industry. Everyone knows who Lloyd Kaufman is, So I feel like, because this movie had a huge budget for that time period, he should have done better. But I did laugh a couple times. It wasn't better than the first one. Giving it a 2.
Yeah. I'm so close to giving it a 1.
No.
So close.
This was not worse than Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I don't think anything's going to knock that out of the spot. I just don't.
Well, I think we could easily, but we just haven't done it on the show yet. But I will say this definitely falls on our list now after Mortal Kombat Annihilation is number 2, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Without a doubt, I don't think we've watched anything that I was this like, oh my God.
No, this one was bad.
I kind of was looking forward to end.
I was so happy when you showed me the box set. It's actually, you posted on social media. And I was like looking at my face. I was like, oh, I am pretty happy. I was like really happy when you showed me that we have this box set. And we still do have 2 more movies to watch, which I'm thrilled about. So let's hope those 2 movies are better and they grab me more.
Yeah.
But this one, no.
Yeah. I'm not happy about 3. I'm more looking forward to 4 and Sergeant Kabuki Man we're going to be watching.
Yep, Sergeant Kabuki
Because
Man.
I think Sergeant Kabuki Man will be back to what the first Toxic Avenger is. Because I think they did that around this time. So they were making like their little independent movies while doing this movie.
Yeah.
So
I was thrilled with that purchase. I got it for $3 on Amazon.
that doesn't sell me on how good it's going to be.
You know what? $3, man.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to those, but I'm not looking forward to 3. I'm scared. So let's get into it next time. Let's get the hell out of here and sober up.
Okay.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one, and hit us on social media at The Crafty Misfit and Just Another Movie Night at Instagram. We're both on Instagram, and we would love to hear all your opinions. If you love part 2, I would love to hear about it. Please tell me why you like this one. I would love to know. I know Joe would too. So thanks again. Have a good one. Bye.
Way back home, I could not get over the fact that I had killed my own father. I felt so guilty.